Josh Fadem grew up in Tulsa, then took his comedy and creativity to Los Angeles. He's been in iconic shows like 30 Rock, Better Call Saul, Twin Peaks, and yes, Reservation Dogs and The Lowdown, both shot here in Green Country. The Booker T grad is a comic and an actor. He's now back living in Tulsa, helping Oklahoma's entertainment scene thrive. In our conversation, I talked to Josh about his journey from Tulsa to LA and back again, why the TV and film industry is exploding in Tulsa and in Oklahoma, and even tells a couple good stories about working with film directing legend David Lynch. You're going to want to listen to those. This is One More Thing with Nathan Thompson. Well, Josh, thanks for joining me on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Got such an interesting story here. You're from Tulsa. You went to Booker T. What kind of inspired you to go into this career that's obviously so challenging to succeed in?
I just kind of was following what I was interested in, but I wasn't immediately like, hey, everyone, I'm doing this, and when you're young and in high school, you're like, I think I like this, but I think I'm interested in that. And, I think in the back of my head, I moved to Los Angeles and had my interest. And then, they kind of organically kind of snowballed into that direction.
When you were going to school at Booker T, I mean, were you the funny kid at school, or how?
Yeah, I was funny. We don't need to be obvious here, but I was funny. I was a funny kid. They were like, oh, Josh is crazy. Josh is crazy. It's true.
So when your friends and people you knew found out that you were going off to LA to try to make a career, they weren't surprised because they knew you were funny.
I mean, it wasn't so black and white, going off to LA, trying to make it big, but I just, I was 20 and I hadn't gone to college, and I think I sat around in Tulsa for a year, kind of figuring it out, working at various spots, and then I moved to LA with the intention of going to like art school or something, and then I found my way into classes at the Groundlings, and then I found my way into, I took some like night school and film classes and stuff like that, and but I really responded to like doing improv, and then from there I branched into more acting training and stand up, and then that just turned into getting work as an actor, and I also had continued to have various odd jobs out in LA. Like I worked at a video store for years, and pridefully worked at a video store. If I would still work there, if they were everywhere, but
yeah, if there were video stores anywhere,
yeah. If there was one in Tulsa, I'd do it, and I split my time now. I came back to Tulsa around pandemic time, and then there was so much going on here that I kind of just kept sticking around, and, I split my time between LA and Tulsa quite a bit, and have been in the past year traveling to do more live comedy shows and stuff like that in other states.
So you went out to LA, maybe, was it around 2000 or something like that?
Yeah, I'd say it was 2000, period.
And how long did it take before you started having success and getting work and roles?
Success is always relative, but I think I think I booked my first commercial. I was like 22, so that would have been 2002. It was a Super Bowl commercial for a Pringles,
Good. Yeah.
So I think in my 20s, I managed to get lots of jobs in commercials, and then I started booking more like guest stars, and then on to recurring stars and stuff, guest stars and stuff like that on television shows. So, it's continued to build, and like anyone might guess, acting, showbiz ebbs and flows. Sometimes you get like a ton of stuff, and sometimes it's slower. And there was, I think the pandemic slowed things down for a lot of showbiz, and then so did like there were the strikes and stuff like that. But Tulsa managed to continue to have production in various ways through that. So I was able to jump on a lot of different jobs here.
So it's interesting you bring up Tulsa, because 20 years ago when you went out to LA, there wasn't really an opportunity in Tulsa to have a career in TV and movies. And does it kind of shock you that Tulsa is where it's at now, as far as the level it's at, as far as movies and TV production, how people can have, even in crews as actors or whatever, can have careers here in Tulsa?
Yeah, I various friends that I had at the time, I when I moved to LA, there was a spattering of kind of oaky crew type people. Many of them were a few years older than me, and I somehow through connections hung out with them quite a bit when I was in my early 20s, and they were all working on crews and stuff, um would write and talk about movies and stuff. So there was never a shortage of people who loved movies and film out here. I think it was just yeah, it probably would be a surprise to any of them that there was opportunities out here, but it's cool.
Why do you think it's grown so much here?
There I mean, obviously, in recent years, there were, little signifiers that made a difference. You can't have the conversation without talking about Sterling Harjo, and all that he's kind of done, and he's fought for having, projects that he was putting together being filmed in Tulsa. And, I know he was doing like indie movies here on his own with whatever resources he could before he got major success, on a to a large audience. And then, obviously the Scorsese movie filming here made a big difference. And then there were just various people. But throughout all that, there were always, I guess, people who were traveling to kind of pick up skill sets and then coming back to like, here's what I learned type of a thing. So yeah, I think, but I don't know exactly, I'm sure that the filming incentives made a big difference. And but I mean, the best answer is that there's a community of talented people here, that we're always here. And I think when you have one person like that who's a strong leader, it helps inspire everyone around them.
And you mentioned Sterling Harjo. You were in, I believe, one episode of Reservation Dogs. You had a recurring role in the Lowdown. Is
Hmm.
it special to kind of be in those shows that are set where you grew up and by someone else who is from this area?
Totally. Yeah. And and it also is special that it's actually fun to work on as well. It's actually like an exciting creative experience. Like, put I've been lucky to work on a lot of things that I consider cool and fun, and with great people, and the projects that Sterling spearheaded are right up there.
It's got to be pretty cool too to see the reviews that these things are getting. I know Reservation Dogs for some people had it as a top 10 show of the decade, and the Lowdown's getting great reviews now.
Yeah.
When you see that, I mean, that's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then if it wasn't for, I guess mainly right now, Sterling Harjo's shows that you've been in, would it be a situation where you could still live in Tulsa and have the career you have, or would it be harder where you would have to live in an LA or
I
something?
I don't know how to answer that for like other people. I taught some classes in Norman at the Actor Factory. Occasionally I'll do that, like teach a comedy class, and there's definitely a lot of people who they want to learn, acting, and they want to learn how to act professionally for productions and stuff like that. And but only speaking from my own experience, I was in LA for 20 years, and then I'm still kind of there. I have like a leg there like every month. So it, it you hope that there will continue to be things that come out here, so that people who are like, I'd like to make a career of this, and only be in Oklahoma, can have that. There does seem like that is a possibility. Um, I think for me, it's nice that there is stuff here, so it keeps me here because I like it here. But also I like it in Los Angeles too, and I have a community of friends and talented people that I came up with there. So, it's nice to be able to go there and perform or work with some friends or collaborate there, and then also be able to come back here and do the same thing.
And besides those shows, Sterling shows, you've been in some pretty iconic shows, 30 Rock, Twin Peaks, Better Call Saul. Is there something that stands out to you, or an experience that stands out to you?
Oh man, I mean, so much. All of those, like, the getting to work with David Lynch, was, kind of like a totally teenage arty movie nerd dream, and then just Better Call Saul, and I'm a big comedy nerd, so getting to work with Tina Fey and all the people on that, and same like Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould on Better Call Saul, like they just not anything. You got a more specific question? I can probably prompt some story if you're looking for a good one, but
So David
yeah.
Lynch, who's a guy who's thought of as a very interesting guy, and beloved filmmaker before he passed. Is there a memory of him or an interaction with him that stands out for you?
Yeah, I mean, just how, like, if you see any interviews with him, he's really specific, and he was like that in person, and he created an interesting environment on set where I personally felt like I could be the character that I played and not worry about if I was doing something wrong. Like I remember there's a scene where I'm stepping onto an elevator and I've got a whole stack of, coffee cups in my hand, but I also have to press the elevator button, and you know, I guess it's a thing where I'm at work, I'm at the office, and I'm getting on the elevator, and I do it every day. And so I'm just kind of dancing around like I've had a lot of coffee. And I remember he says, when you go to get into the elevator, you go to press the button and you see it's already been pressed, but then you press it again anyway. And it's a note that like, it doesn't affect the scene either way. It's just a little tiny thing. And it's not like he was even going to get a shot of the elevator button. It's just like, here's a little thing for you to play with. And it's just sort of like, all right, I got my coffee here and I'm doing this, and how you doing? And hey, over there, no, gotta press that button, and then no, but all right, anyway, and it's just kind of like, there would be like lots of little things like that, and I remember when I first met him the first day, and he calls you by your character's name. Oh, are you Phil? Great, Phil. Great to meet you, Phil. Okay, Phil, you're an ace employee. You're top of the job. You're sharp. You're bright. You're funny. But I want you, but you had a lot of coffee and you're on speed. I want you to blow through that scene like you're on speed. And I'm like, okay, got it. Okay, great. And then afterwards, like, you were good, Phil. That was good. You were a good Phil. That was good. And so, yeah, and it was a lot of stuff like that. Every day I'd see him on set. Phil, great to have you on board. Phil, great to see you, Phil. Yeah, all the and he kind of, if you see him in interviews, he'll describe something I'm thinking of, and he'll kind of do this move, and like I remember him giving a note, and he's kind of talking it through, and or sometimes he'd see, like, he was talking about, my scenes were all with Kyle MacLachlan, and he was like, Kyle MacLachlan played this character at this point in the show called Dougie, who was kind of spaced out, and he's like, Dougie's your friend, and he's acting kind of different, and you're kind of worried about him, and you see him, and he kind of would become whatever the note was he wanted me to play, and yeah. I would kind of just instinctually know, I should mirror him. Right, I feel it. Yeah, I'm worried about Dougie. What's going on with Dougie? And subsequently, my parents got a dog and named him Dougie, after Dougie, not after my character, but that's okay. Yeah. I mean, I could talk all day with stories about that.
Is it hard when it's a legend like that directing you to? It doesn't make it harder to act when it's David Lynch there that's giving you the direction, or there watching you perform?
I won't get too into my failures because we've all got them, and that's just part of the game. But I have been in situations where I worked with people who were heroes / close to heroes, and I felt like it didn't go great. And so I feel like I assessed what wasn't great about that. And going into working with David Lynch, I was like, I'm going to be ready for anything in this way. And in that regard, one, it was very easy for me to work with David Lynch. But two, I was just so ready that I think I don't think I could have been phased in that particular moment. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I wasn't too. I was, of course, ready and had some nerves, but I felt just ready, and so it was kind of one of those situations where I was so psyched to get to do it that I was like, you could throw anything at me, I'm ready,
You talk about being a comedy nerd, and you're an actor now that does serious work. Also, you look at Better Call Saul and Bob Odenkirk, a guy, started as a comedy writer in Saturday Night Live and was Mr. Show, everybody,
yeah,
comedian loves that. And now he's doing serious work and action work, do you kind of look at that as maybe a model or something? I'm not the only one who wants to be a comedian and also a serious actor and all this, and someone has succeeded at it at that level.
Well, yeah, the big lesson that I mean, that you can take away from that, and I've always kind of felt this way with acting and acting as a I consider myself a character actor. I pop up in various things. Though, side note, I did play a lead role for the first time in a film shot here in Oklahoma by director Mickey Reese.
Mhm.
He's from Oklahoma City, and he's a great filmmaker, and I met him actually through Sterling. So that kind of just goes to show the whole community and stuff like that, the way it's all connected. He
What's the
and
name
I
of that movie?
That movie's called Every Heavy Thing, and it's been playing festivals. It's a genre film, and Mickey's a great director and great guy. And Sterling actually cast us in Reservation Dogs season 1 as two guys robbing a store, and we had ski masks on, so you couldn't tell. And the deer lady kills us, and then he later brought me back as a different character in season 2. But anyway, rewinding to what you're saying about like, kind of comedians who transition into doing drama and stuff, I kind of think of it like in almost any character actor who's like committing and to a particular character. I almost consider them like hand in hand with comedy or sketch comedy. So like you could look at some Bob Odenkirk performances in his like sketch comedy career and taking it out of context, you're like, that might almost be a dramatic performance. It's just so absurd. So, or, the way that he's in Better Call Saul sometimes, he's still funny, even though it's sometimes heavy lifting drama. And yeah, so in a way you could kind of contextualize them as one and the same. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah, Mr. Show obviously had some things that could very easily have been considered a drama on some.
Yeah, yeah. If it weren't like placed in a sketch comedy scenario, the commitment of like, I don't know, an angry dad or some sort of foppish character or something like that. I don't know. Yeah,
So
but
besides acting, you do a lot of comedy work. Of course, you have a tour, different spots around the country. And you also
yeah.
do regular things here in Tulsa, kind of catch people up on what that is.
Yeah, as a comedian, I'll perform every now and then, and sometimes I'll do a show at Chimera. I don't know if we have any on the books right now, but like with my friend Evan Hughes, who's a really funny comedian in town, and beloved, a local comedian, and so we do shows together. And coming up on the 28th, the day after Thanksgiving, I'm doing a show at the Lowdown. It's a venue called Lowdown. It's a jazz club / comedy venue and music venue and stuff. Just happens to be called the Lowdown, not inspired by the television show. But and so I'm doing that on the 28th and this month, day after Thanksgiving. But I also have been doing at the Circle Cinema Noir Night. I show a noir film once a month, and this month, since it is Noirvember, I didn't coin that phrase. We're doing two. We did one last night, and it was super fun. And so we have one more. We're showing a 35 millimeter print at the Circle on the 26th. So if someone were looking to sandwich their Thanksgiving with Josh Fadem events, this is the year to do it. Yeah.
That's funny. Noir, and you were obviously the Lowdown. The show was also
Yeah.
noirish.
Yeah. And I served as because, through hanging out with Sterling and talking about movies and stuff like that, he knew I was kind of a noir connoisseur, which kind of happened accidentally during the pandemic. I just watched a lot of film noir. Like I watched obsessively about 350 film noirs from the 40s and 50s. So he hired me to be kind of a noir consultant to the writers, and I just talked about the tropes of it and that sort of thing. I do notice you got to be careful when talking about film noir, because when you bring it up, you can see the people that you talk to's eyes glaze over with boredom. So you have to be careful. You have to use a brevity of words.
No, I like it. That's good.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's another interesting part of your career there. I mean, you're actor, comedian, helping with the writers' room there. Do you think of yourself as one first? Are you a comedian first? Are you actor first? Or is it just all intertwined?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I guess I put on my Instagram profile character actor and comedian. So, when one is not paying me, the other one seems to be. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of whatever's serving me in the moment, you know. But I've been doing both for almost 25 years, so performing and acting professionally.
So, having spent 2 decades in the entertainment scene in LA and spending time here, obviously, and in Tulsa now in the scene here, obviously the LA scene is bigger and there's more opportunities, but do they have a different feel?
Definitely, but I'm not gonna say like one is better than another. They're just different, and I think I'm I'm lucky that I spent my adult life in Los Angeles, kind of trying to get good at what I do and cutting my teeth and brushing shoulders with other people who are great at it to learn from them, and then I'm able to kind of come back and I got some degree of notoriety that I can jump in and be involved with people working on stuff here, and people will say, I know you. Yes, you you're not gonna stink up the joint if we hire you. You're not gonna let us down. We know at least you know how to hit a mark and say your lines, convincingly. So yeah, and there's also just a lot of enthusiasm and potential um in Tulsa. And I do notice like some friends, and I was feeling this way like maybe before the pandemic in Los Angeles. Not everyone, but some friends in LA, they can get a bit of showbiz fatigue where they're just like, "Whew, it's rough out here." You know what I mean? And that's kind of just the nature of the business, where it it just wears you down and you feel like you're hanging by a thread and you're not sure where's the next gig. So that in that sense, it helps to be able to book shows and perform and do stand up. But then also it helps that I can be in Tulsa as well, and I can find collaborators. I started a podcast in Tulsa as well. It's called "Here Come the Details" with my friend Rob Stewart, who he founded the Tulsa coffee shop restaurant hub Chimera, and he and I are childhood friends, and so he's also worked in locally in the music biz. So we started making this podcast together, and whenever actors or comedians that I know come through town, they've agreed to be on the podcast. And so we shot and released maybe about 10 episodes that are out, and then we have a backlog of more, and so we're going to release the second round probably in the new year and shoot more. And so it's nice to be able to we shoot it all around town, and we'll shoot it in strange locations. It's kind of like a messing with the form, breaking the fourth wall type of a podcast, where I'm not particularly a great interviewer, but I like to get a friend on there who's talented and have a funny chemistry with them, or we'll go to a weird location. And like we have one coming up where with my friend Eric Edelstein, who was on the Lowdown and is a big fan of Tulsa. When Bob Dylan played, we shot an episode in the parking lot, at the Tulsa Theater. Or Sienna East, who was also on the Lowdown. She and we recorded an episode on the pedestrian bridge. You know what I mean? And just so I just like going to strange places in Tulsa. Maybe we can come sit there in the studio and do one while you try to record another podcast.
There you go. Yeah, that's my boss side, but I think we might be able to make that happen.
Yeah. Maybe we can do it in your boss's office.
Now, if people want to see that, YouTube, the best place to check that out, I guess.
Yeah. Find that on YouTube. Yeah, YouTube, Spotify, and it's a video podcast, so it's visual and but you can listen to it too. But yeah, I think you'll have a better experience if you watch it. Here come the details.
Here come the details. Everybody, check that out. Now, if you look back at Tulsa 10 years ago, the film and the TV scene, vastly different. 10 years going forward, if I can make you be a fortune teller here, how do you see the scene developing?
I see it developing. I see it. I see more stuff shooting here. I think there's only going to be like I don't know. Hopefully, there's more Lowdown, and hopefully there's more shows. I'm sure Sterling will probably. I don't think he'll quit doing stuff in Tulsa. I certainly won't if I'm able to get things off the ground, out here. And yeah, there continues to be more stuff shooting here, and hopefully more television shows, secure places out here. So I don't know. There's lots of different people certainly wanting to. So that's my hope. I'm no Tulstradamus over here, but I'm doing my best.
Well, that sounds like a good answer to me. Now, a
Oh
question.
yeah, wait. Side note: sorry to interrupt. The film that I was talking about, that my friend Mickey
Uh-huh.
directed, our mutual friend Cassie produced it.
Oh, there
Cassie
you go.
Dean.
Fox 23s.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Sorry, what
great.
were you gonna say?
Um, Kind of wrapping up here. I like that in the podcast, since I got to dominate the topics here, I always like to ask the guest kind of, is there one thing that's been on your mind the last week or two that's really, causing you to think a lot about right now?
Oh, what do I say? What do I? How do I get people to come to my shows? I don't know. I don't know if I have a question for. Maybe you can tell me that. How do
Yeah.
I get people to come to my shows in other states?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I'm just thinking about me. Thinking about how do I solve my problems? How do I get the word out about my problem, my things? Not really. I guess I was just in Texas, and then I was driving a lot there and doing shows there, and then I got back and I was pretty zonked and swamped. But so it was kind of like a couple of days off. But yeah, I can't think of a what's healthy? How do I keep my A1C down? That's what I'm also, as I'm 45 years old, you got to make sure you eat healthy. So I'm always looking for a nice source of healthy fat, healthy protein, and fiber. Yeah, if anyone's got any good restaurant recommendations where I can get some of that, no sugar,
And that's
I'd
the
be,
hard part. I'm
yeah.
50, so I'm trying to do the same thing and stay healthy, but sugar tastes so good.
I know. I'm what I like to say, I'm in cookie jail because I did my hard. I really broke the cookie laws by going overboard, and then I had to go reverse course, and so I'm on cookie probation.
All right, I'm going to try to help you out now. What do you want to promote to people here that you're doing? Obviously, the shows you talked about already. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it for this coming month. I'm the 26th at Circle Cinema, and then the 28th at Lowdown, and then um I I'll be in Seattle and Portland. If anyone's got any friends there, tell them to go see me in Seattle and Portland on the 23rd and 24th.
Okay. And if people want to keep up with you, after the next couple of weeks, Instagram, is that the plan?
Yeah, follow me on Instagram, follow me on YouTube, Josh Fadem.
Well, Josh, I appreciate your time and thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, super fun. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again to Josh Fadem for joining me. What a fun conversation. It's great to see creative people from here in Green Country succeed on the national stage. And it's cool he's back living in Tulsa, helping our creative scene grow even more. Thanks for listening. Please like and comment, share it with a friend, and check out more episodes of One More Thing.